Welcome back. In today's lesson, we'll explore some essential drawing techniques, starting with shape tools and their functionality. When you right-click on the rectangle tool in the toolbar, you'll notice additional shape options, such as rounded rectangle, ellipse, polygon, star, and flare tool. Let's begin by understanding the common attributes of these shape tools, using the rectangle tool as an example. Once you grasp the steps for this tool, you can apply the same principles to the others. To get started, select the rectangle tool from the toolbar, or simply press the M key on your keyboard. For this demonstration, we'll remove the fill color and set the stroke color to black. Keep the other values in the options bar as default for now. To draw a random-sized rectangle, click and drag on the canvas while holding the mouse button. To create a perfect square, hold down the Shift key while dragging. If you'd like to draw a square from its midpoint, hold Alt-Shift on Windows or Option-Shift on Mac while dragging. Similarly, by holding only Alt or Option, you can draw rectangles from their midpoint. Now that you know how to draw rectangles and squares of various sizes, let's move on to drawing shapes with specific dimensions. Before that, I'll select these shapes using the Selection tool and delete them to clear the canvas. Let's continue from here. To draw a rectangle or square with specific dimensions, start by selecting the Rectangle tool and simply click once on the canvas. This action will bring up the Rectangle Properties panel, where you can enter precise height and width values. You'll notice a link icon between the width and height fields. When this link is enabled, adjusting either the width or height will automatically maintain the proportions. For instance, if you modify the width, the height will adjust proportionally, and vice versa. When the link icon is disabled, the width and height will be independent of each other, meaning you will need to manually input values for both fields. It's essential to remember to specify the unit of measurement when entering values. For example, type mm for millimeters, cm for centimeters, or in for inches after the value. Here's a quick tip. If you enter a value in 1 unit, like inches, but your document's default measurement is in millimeters, Illustrator will automatically convert it. For example, if you input 2 in for a 2-inch square and press Tab to move to the next field, you may notice it converts to millimeters, 50.8 millimeters in this case. This is because your default measurement setting is millimeters, so there's no need to worry, as Illustrator does the conversion for you. If you want to change the default unit of measurement, you can do so by right-clicking on the ruler and selecting the unit you prefer from the drop-down menu. For now, I'll keep the default set to millimeters. This method allows for precise control over the dimensions of your shapes, ensuring accuracy in your designs. Let's say I want to draw a rectangle with a height of 100 millimeters and a width of 50 millimeters. To do this, start by selecting the Rectangle tool and clicking once on the page. A panel will appear where you can enter the specific dimensions. Ensure the link icon is disabled so that the height and width are not locked in proportion. Then type the values into their respective fields and click OK. Once your shape is drawn, press the V key to activate the Selection tool, allowing you to move the shape around as needed. Now let's move on to transformation methods. Transformations include scaling, skewing, and rotating objects on your canvas. These transformations can be done manually or by entering specific values. Keep in mind that you must select the object using the Selection tool to apply any transformations. For manual transformations, if you want to scale the rectangle, simply click and drag one of the transformation handles located at the corners or edges of the shape. Holding the Shift key while dragging ensures that the aspect ratio is maintained. If you want to scale from the center of the shape, hold down Alt-Shift or Command-Shift on Mac while dragging. To rotate the object, hover your mouse slightly outside of a transformation handle until the pointer changes into a rotate icon. Click and hold the mouse button to begin rotating the shape. If you want to rotate the object in fixed increments, such as 45 degrees, hold the Shift key while rotating for more precise control over the angle. These methods allow you to adjust your shapes efficiently, giving you greater flexibility and precision in your designs. You can also smoothen the corners of an object by dragging one of the corner handles. For example, if you want to adjust just a specific corner, simply click on that corner handle to select it. and then drag to adjust the radius as needed. Likewise, if you want to adjust the radius of another corner, click to select that corner first, then drag to modify it. If you'd like to smooth in multiple corners at once, you can select them together. For instance, if you want to adjust the corners of two specific points, select the first corner by clicking on it, then hold the Shift key and select the other corner handle. Once both are selected, dragging will adjust the radius of both corners simultaneously. If you want to revert all corners to sharp points, simply drag one of the corner handles inward until the corners are sharp. To adjust the corner radius with a specific value, first, select the object using the Selection tool. Then, press the A key to activate the Direct Selection tool. Now you'll see corner radius options in the control bar, where you can input the exact value for the corner radius. If you click on the Corners link, you'll be able to choose different corner styles like rounded, inverted, or chamfered. I'll set it to the default rounded type for now. If you want to smooth in individual corners with a specific value, select the corner handle first, then enter the desired corner radius value in the control bar. These features provide even more precision and control over how you refine and perfect your shapes. Now, let me guide you through how to transform design elements or shapes using specific values. But before we dive into that, let me set the corners back to points by dragging the corner handles. To transform objects with precise values, we will use the Transform panel. Start by selecting the object with the Selection tool, and then go ahead and open the Transform panel. Before applying transformations through the Transform panel, it's important to understand the reference point locator. Essentially, the reference point locator defines the reference point of the selected object. There are a total of 9 points available. By default, the center point is selected, meaning any transformation you apply will originate from the midpoint of the object. However, if you choose a different point on the reference point locator, the transformation will occur from that specific location. For instance, if you want the transformation to start from the top left corner of the object, select that point on the locator, and the change will apply from there. Now, let's say you want to scale the selected object from its center while maintaining the width and height proportions. First, ensure that the midpoint of the reference point locator is selected. Then, turn on the link icon to maintain the aspect ratio. From here, you can change either the width or height to the specific value you require, and the object will scale proportionally. You can also move the selected object precisely along the X and Y axes. Adjusting the X-axis value will move the object horizontally, while changing the Y-axis value will move it vertically. Furthermore, you can rotate the object by entering a specific degree in the Rotate option. This will rotate the object around the selected reference point. Now let's explore the shape properties. You can find these properties right below the Transform panel. If you can't see them, simply click the More Options menu, and if it says Show Options instead of Hide Options, click on that to display all the options in the Transform panel. For this demonstration, I'm using the Rectangle tool. Since I've selected a rectangle, the properties related to a rectangular object are shown here. If you were to draw another shape, such as a circle or a polygon, the relevant properties for that shape would appear instead. Feel free to experiment with these options to better understand how they work. Generally, you can scale, rotate, and adjust the corner radius for rectangle or square shapes. Additionally, you can explore different types of corners such as round, inverted, or chamfered. When the link icon is off, you can customize each corner's radius and type individually. For example, I can set the top left corner to 10 millimeters with a round corner type, adjust the bottom left corner to 15 millimeters with an inverted type, and set the bottom right corner to 20 millimeters with a chamfered type. I encourage you to try out the other shape tools in the tool panel and experiment with the properties related to each one to become familiar with their functions. We'll be using these tools in upcoming lessons to create real-world graphic elements where you'll gain even more hands-on experience. Instead of going through each tool one by one, I prefer to introduce them as we work on practical examples. For now, just practice with the tools by following the same steps I've shown you with the Rectangle tool. Right below the shape properties, you will find two additional options enabled in this panel: scale corners and scale strokes and effects. Depending on your project's requirements, you can choose to uncheck or enable these options. Let me explain what happens when these two options are activated. As you can see on my screen, I have drawn a rectangle with a stroke weight of 5 pt. The current dimensions of the rectangle are 100 millimeters in width and 50 millimeters in height, with a corner radius value of 10 millimeters applied to all corners. Now, if I enable the proportion link and begin to reduce the size, whether manually or by entering a specific value in the transform panel, you will notice that both the stroke weight and the corner radius automatically adjust according to the size changes I am making. This is due to the activation of both scaling options. If I disable these options, the original stroke weight and corner radius will remain unchanged, allowing you to maintain those specific attributes regardless of the size adjustments. Ultimately, the decision to use these scaling options should be based on the requirements of your artwork. Now, let's pause the video and take some time to practice drawing these basic graphic elements using the methods I've just taught you. In addition to what you've learned, there are additional controls available in the control bar that can further enhance your designs. One such option is variable widths, which allows you to apply various width profiles to the selected object's stroke. These are particularly useful when creating complex artwork that requires varying stroke widths. However, by default, the stroke is set to uniform. Additionally, you can explore different brush definitions, which offer a range of brush styles to add more complexity and uniqueness to your artwork. The default setting is the basic brush, but experimenting with other brush styles can unlock even more creative possibilities for your designs. Now let me guide you on how to apply dotted or dashed lines and arrowheads to your artwork elements. First, I'll increase the stroke weight to 5 pt so you can clearly see the effect when I apply them. Let's select the rectangle shape and imagine that I want to replace the solid line with a dashed one. To do this, you need to open the stroke panel. Once the stroke panel is open, click the More Options menu and choose Show Options to reveal additional settings related to strokes. To apply a dashed or dotted line, check the dashed line box. You can then define the dash length and the gap between dashes by customizing the values in the dash and gap fields. Simply click inside the field and use your mouse wheel to scroll up or down, adjusting the values to create different dashed line effects. This is a useful technique for creating stylish dashed lines for designs like certificates. Furthermore, there are additional options to explore, such as adjusting the caps and corners, or aligning the stroke to either the inside, outside, or center of the path. These settings give you more control over the appearance of your dashed lines, allowing you to fine-tune your artwork to match your desired style. Caps. This option determines how the ends of an open path, such as a line, are displayed. You can choose between 3 cap types. Corners. This controls how the stroke appears at corners or where 2 lines meet. A line stroke. This option decides how the stroke is aligned relative to the path. So, I encourage you to try these settings yourself and see how they enhance your design. Now let me walk you through how to apply arrowheads to your artwork. I have a couple of line elements on my canvas, so I'll select them first. In the stroke panel, ensure that the dashed line option is turned off to get a clean output for the arrowheads. To apply arrowheads, you can select a style for the start point from the arrowhead menu. There are several styles to choose from, allowing for a range of design options. Similarly, you can add an arrowhead to the endpoint of the line by selecting one from the same menu. You can also scale the arrowheads by adjusting the percentage value, 100% being the default. Additionally, you can experiment with different variable profiles to fine-tune the arrowhead design according to your artwork. Now, try applying these arrowhead styles yourself to create a unique abstract design. Before diving into designing real-world graphic elements, it's essential to familiarize yourself with some crucial techniques. Let me start by explaining the methods for selecting objects. I'll draw a few shape elements, stacking them on top of one another as an example. First, select the rectangle tool and draw a square. Fill the square with a yellow color and remove the stroke. Next, Select the ellipse tool and draw a circle while holding the Shift key to maintain its proportions. As you hold the mouse button and Shift key, press and hold the space bar to reposition the circle so it overlaps with the square. Once you have the position right, release the mouse button, space bar, and Shift key. Now, fill the circle with a green color. Proceed by selecting the Polygon tool. Draw a polygon, overlapping it on both the circle and square using the same process. Fill the polygon with red. For variety, draw another rectangle, a circle, and a star, ensuring these shapes do not overlap. Use appropriate colors, as demonstrated on my screen. To create the star shape, select the Star tool from the Shape presets, click on the page, and enter the values exactly as shown before clicking OK. Now that the shapes are drawn, let's go over some selection techniques to streamline your work. Always use the Selection tool, activated with the V key, to select and move objects. For colored objects, click inside the object to select it. For unfilled objects, click directly on the path. To deselect, simply click anywhere outside the object in the document window. If you want to select multiple objects at once, hold the Shift key while clicking on each one, or drag a marquee around the objects. To deselect a specific object from a group, hold Shift and click the object again. To select all objects in the artwork, press Ctrl-Command-A on Mac. These are the basic methods for selecting and deselecting objects. Additionally, you can use the Magic Wand tool to select objects with similar attributes, such as color. For instance, if you want to select all objects with a yellow fill, activate the Magic Wand tool by pressing Y or selecting it from the Tools panel. Then click on any yellow object. All objects with the same color will be selected, allowing you to adjust them simultaneously. This method works for selecting objects with similar stroke weights, effects, and other attributes, making the Magic Wand tool a powerful option for editing complex designs. In addition to selection methods, it's important to familiarize yourself with object arranging techniques, which will help streamline your design tasks. Let me first clear the existing elements to demonstrate. Suppose you want to send the red polygon behind all other objects. To do this, select the polygon using the Selection tool, then press Ctrl-Shift-Open Square Bracket key or Command-Shift-Open Square Bracket key on Mac. This will send the polygon to the back. If you want to bring it forward by one layer, hold Ctrl or Command on Mac and press Close Square Bracket key. Now, if you want to bring the yellow square to the front of all other objects, select it, then hold Ctrl-Shift or Command-Shift and press Close Square Bracket key. To move it backward by one layer, hold Ctrl or Command on Mac and press Open Square Bracket key. Alternatively, you can use the context menu to arrange objects. Right-click on the selected object, navigate to the Arrange menu, and you'll find options like Bring to Front, Send to Back, Bring Forward, and Send Backward. These arranging methods allow you to control the stacking order of objects in your design, making it easier to manage overlapping elements. Now, let's focus on how to duplicate existing graphic elements, group and ungroup objects, and use isolation methods. To make a copy of an object, such as a circle, first select the object using the Selection tool. Then hold down the Alt key or Option on Mac and drag the object to the desired location. Release the mouse button first and then release the Alt or Option key. This will create a duplicate of the selected element. To group multiple elements, select the objects you want to group and press Ctrl-G or Command-G on Mac. This groups the objects together, allowing you to move or scale them as a single unit. To ungroup them, press Ctrl-Shift-G or Command-Shift-G. After ungrouping, be sure to click on a blank area to deselect the objects, allowing you to select and manipulate each one independently. Lastly, the isolation mode is a useful method for editing specific objects within a group without having to ungroup them. For example, after grouping all your elements by pressing Ctrl-G or Command-G, if you want to change the color of the red object, you won't be able to do so directly since the objects are grouped. In this case, simply double-click the group to enter isolation mode, where you can select and edit individual objects. Once you've made the necessary changes, such as adjusting the color, click the arrow at the top of the window or press the Escape key to exit isolation mode. These techniques will enhance your workflow, making it easier to manage and modify multiple objects in your designs. In conclusion, mastering these essential tools and techniques, selection methods, object arranging, duplicating elements, grouping, and using isolation mode will significantly improve your efficiency and precision in graphic design. These foundational skills are vital as you work with more complex artwork in Adobe Illustrator, allowing you to manage and manipulate your designs with ease. Now that you're familiar with these important basics, you're ready to dive into creating real-world graphic elements. In the next lesson, we'll start applying what you've learned by working on actual design projects. Let's continue this journey and unlock your creative potential. Move on to the next lesson and begin designing with confidence.